Superman, issue 23, legacy number 866, Joshua Williamson writing with Dan Mora on the art. So, we had the end of last issue be Time Trapper, aka Future Doomsday, stop time to have a chat with Lois and try and convince her what Superman wouldn't accept, which is that they need to work with him. And Lois is pretty adamant that she won't, even when he brings up, oh, when Superman killed me, the last thing I remembered wasn't him. It was you weeping over his dead body. That's the last memory I had. And she doesn't buy any of this. She kind of stands her ground and whatever. However, when time unfreezes, though, Jimmy was right in the firing line of disaster, and she doesn't quite make it in time to completely save him. So Jimmy's in the hospital later on in the issue.
Yeah, and that was by design by Time Trapper Doomsday, because he said, I'm not going to do the same for what I did for your husband, where I put him back with seconds to spare. He unfreezes time, as it were. So, a bit of manipulation on his part here.
Yeah, it almost felt like he was punishing her for daring to go against him.
She also smacks the shit out of him. I don't know if it's a punch or a slap or what it is. But yeah,
I'm sure Lois has fantasized many times about punching Doomsday.
Yes,
I think it's a punch. It looks like a closed fist.
Because it says crack, right? But the way that he reacts, it's like he was slapped, and So again, it seems like he's just being petty here.
Yeah, and of course, what's going on during all this is that the aliens are trying to get to Doomsday, right? That's what was going on when time froze. So Superman's in the midst of that fight. He starts beating up Time Trapper when he sees him. And it's kind of neat because Lex is the one who comes out and kind of deals with everything by bottling Doomsday and the aliens into a city with Brainiac tech. And Lois is aware that he's about to do this, so she flies in and has to kind of get Superman away so that he's not shrunk down with everyone else. So it's an alright end to the fight. It works well enough. There's some nice art mixed in.
Yeah, I do like that Mercy points out, if Doomsday dies in that bottle, we don't know what type is coming next.
I'm a bit confused by this. This feels very contrived, because it's obviously Lois and Clark share a look based on that, because they know, oh, well, then maybe this is where he gets the Time Trapper powers from. My confusion is, why would the time slowing kill him? Because Lex just says, time slowed inside the bottle. And most
the aliens are in there with him, right?
Yeah, so I think
it's the radiant.
I think the worry is that the aliens in there are going to try and kill him inside the bottle, say.
Right, but Mercy specifically says if Doomsday dies because of time slowing down, not while time is slowed down, because of time. And I don't understand.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake of wording by Williamson.
Yeah.
But even if that is the case, he'd be if it is a mistake and he dies while time is slowed down, it's not time slowing down that's killed him, because they're all slowed down in there, so they're on an even field. It's just nonsense.
How about I'll try to play devil's advocate. I'm not saying I'm putting my weight behind this, but to play devil's advocate, what if wounds that wouldn't otherwise kill him do so because time is slowed down? I'm just positing. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't understand, because the way they usually show this with time slowed down, inside the bottle, is it's still passing normally for them inside the bottle, they're experiencing it relative, right? None of this makes any sense to me.
Honestly, this was better than Williamson usually wraps up things, which is not to say that it's great. It's kind of, it falls into that same kind of line where when they initially revealed that people who had a history of Doomsday and were survivors of planets that Doomsday had destroyed were coming for Doomsday, I was like, that's a really neat idea. I like the sound of that. And then here's kind of the sort of weak wrap-up of it, where I'm like, okay, it was a decent enough little thing, but it doesn't feel like as big a deal as it felt like it was going to be when it was introduced, which is kind of Joshua Williamson's writing in a nutshell.
That's him in a bag, right?
He makes something feel like it's going to be a huge deal to begin with, and then by about 3 issues later, I'm usually like, oh, that's underwhelming now. Almost every time. So,
this is very typical Williamson at this point.
But there's definitely been other arcs, though, where he's pissed me off more. This was just kind of okay, it's fine.
Yeah. Well,
I'm more indifferent here than other occasions, but that specific thing, because if he hadn't had the look that Lois and Clark gave it, I'm like, oh, maybe that's just it's a maybe. But the look feels very implicit of no, this is what happened. But I hate it.
I mean, they don't know that for sure, though. They're just obviously thinking, oh, maybe this is how he becomes that version of Doomsday.
Yeah, because they're the only one that know that version exists at this point.
Like I said, I just don't understand the logic of bringing it up to begin with, and that's where it feels contrived to me. And it feels like he's just like,
yeah, especially
if Bella Williamson just went, I don't know how to get from Doomsday to Time Trapper. Quick, throw in a line.
Well, that's the thing for me is I felt like Time Trapper Doomsday was like not the next Doomsday. I always felt like that's like
so far in the future.
Yeah, that felt like 50,000 years down the line Doomsday.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So yeah, that's whatever. So Jimmy's in the hospital. Silver Banshee's pissed about it and shows up to fight Lois and says, "I'm your nemesis now. Congratulations,
your first arch enemy."
Which again I like in a vacuum, but at the same time, did not Siobhan know there was a war going on? Why wasn't she bansheed up to protect her boyfriend? He was trying to get the shot of Superwoman, right?
What's funny, that's not my issue with this. I do have an issue, but it's not that. But fair enough. I'm not arguing with yours. My issue is more that she shows up and says, "Oh, Jimmy got hurt because he's been trying to get a photo of you, so I'm blaming you for this." And I'm like, wait a minute. You've met Lois. You've been on double dates with Lois. How are you not seeing this is Lois Lane right now, Siobhan?
Yeah.
Like, if they just not mentioned that she's got some sort of fancy Luthercorp tech that's like changing her face for people.
But she definitely doesn't, because that's why she keeps having to super speed her to not get the picture.
That was a whole plot point, yeah. So why is Silver Banshee not recognizing her right now?
I don't know. Williamson doesn't know what he's doing sometimes, and just like goes, I don't have an explanation for this.
Yeah, that annoyed me. That was the part that annoyed me, because I love Silver Banshee as a character. I think she's got a cool design. I loved when I read like the 90s Supergirl stuff, and she was like a villain in that. But
I think it's a little bit frustrating to me that it just took one instance. Like, she's been such a strong character in this run with this, not rehabilitation, but this new dynamic that she's had, this relationship with Jimmy. It feels like they're throwing it all away here for quite a minor reason in the grand scheme of things.
To be slightly fair, I don't necessarily think they're implying that she's just going full villain again. It kind of just sounds like she hates Lois or she hates Superwoman, and it's just that.
Maybe. Well, I'll have to see where it plays.
It should be Lois, because for two reasons actually. One, because she should recognize her. It's stupid she doesn't. But two, Jimmy's trying to get the photo for his boss, and who's his boss? His boss is Lois Lane.
A plus B equals C. Yeah.
So it's doubly her fault. Yeah. From her perspective, I mean, like, obviously I'm not blaming her, but still, I just, that wound me up a little bit. So we see Zod in space, some alien dude saying, "Hey, you've not got your powers," and Zod's like, "No one can know," and then like snaps his neck or crushes his head or whatever he does.
Minus powers too. So
yes,
Zod doesn't miss Grip Strength Day. We know this.
Oh, sure, yes. I mean,
it's believable.
I also think this alien has a kind of a thin neck compared to human beings, so I think that this was like, like, I'm not saying I could do it, but
no, I do also think we don't know the species, but maybe this is just how they, how they do. It'll grow back. It'll be fine.
No, I mean, I think he's killed him because he doesn't want anyone to know he's powerless. I think that's the gist of it. But that's a nice moment.
Also, it says sploosh. So yes, definitely. There's nothing left.
Splish indeed. And then the final scene is Time Trapper Doomsday at the end of time, and he's just complaining about Superman and everything else. And then it reveals who's shown up to talk to him at the end here. And they say, "You messed up, Time Trapper. You tried to work with the wrong side. We'll give you what you want. But first we'll rip you from your mind everything you know about this Superman." So they're going to take that from his mind, and I'm looking at these characters and I'm like, wait, I had to think about who they were, because it wasn't immediately sticking out to me. But this appears to be the dark side version of the Legion of Superheroes.
Yes, but also it looks like it's, and I'm looking up the name of them. There's a an evil Legion, right, that are counter. So it was Lightning Lord, Saturn Queen, and Cosmic King, and that's who these appear to be.
Yeah, and this is tying into Darkseid's
the Dark
Absolute
Side
Universe.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see what the name of this group was, because it wasn't just the Legion of Villains.
It was Legion of Darkseid or something like that.
Yeah, well, this was the Darkseid's Legion, but originally these characters that showed up in Legion right? That were like they were the evil version of the main three from Legion, and they had a name. They showed up in Jeff Loeb's Superman Batman run and stuff. So unless this is just the evil Legion from the Omega, right, and it is our regular ones. But yeah,
I'm confused by I'm confused by everything you just said there. You made that confusing. Do you think this is some sort? These are old characters coming? Because my read on this page was just that this is the new version of the Legion from the Absolute Universe. I think this is tying into what's going on with the overall DC stuff right now.
So I'm definitely overthinking it, right? But it just the way that their costumes are, it's very much those evil versions of the Legion, right? So I don't know if this is if that's one and the same yet, but yeah, like I don't know if it's just the Omega ones, right? The absolute version of the Legion of Superheroes, right? That are all evil, or these pre-established characters, or not. You know what I mean?
I definitely think it's the absolute version. I mean, whether or not the old versions have merged into those absolute versions, that's another question. But I do definitely think this is tying in, because even earlier in the issue, one of the things that Time Trapper said was like, "Oh, they don't even know how bad it's going to get after Darkseid returns." Yeah. So I think this is all like tying into what the greater, DC stuff is right now. Mm-hmm. That's my guess anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, as far as Williamson issues of Superman go, it's not bad.
No. So I was reading this in bed, and my wife looked over and she goes, "What's going on? Why does that Superwoman look like Lois?" And I was like, "Oh, do you have time?" And I started explaining things, and the more you explain it, the wilder it sounds. So unless you've been reading from the start and stuff, and then I explained about the powers and Doomsday and Time Trapper, and she's like, "I don't care. I'm gonna go back to watching SpongeBob." So
that was probably the smart choice.
Yeah, obviously there were some problems. I think the ending to what was going on with the Doomsday stuff was a bit underwhelming, but it's fine.
What do you think about Dan Mora's art?
I mean, it's generally good because Dan Mora is a good artist. Like,
I think it's not his best.
No, it's
perfectly fine.
Compared to his other book that came out this week, it's definitely the lesser of the two, but it's still pretty good. Art-wise, I like a lot of the action sequences. The like when Lois is sad because of Jimmy, her just floating over the skyline, I think looks really good with the colors and whatnot. But yeah,
there's a few points that look a little bit overly messy. Like there's a bit too much going on, and I don't know if he inks his own stuff or not, but it feels like there's not enough separation in the layers. He
cannot have time to do that himself, surely.
But let's see. Hold on.
No, it must have. It's got a colorist.
It's his artist.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, Dan Moore is just a superhuman then.
Again, how does he do this?
I don't know.
Like most pencilers can't do 2 issues a month, and he's just inking them as well.
It's a bit concerning, right?
Yeah.
Like he must be doing something wrong.
Do you know what it is? It's not an AI thing, but in the way that we talk about AI, but I think he's built a robot. He's built actual artificial intelligence who can just draw the second issue. That's my theory at this point.
Maybe he just has a slave locked up that can do it for him.
Oh.
God damn, Connor.
I'm not saying
he's trying to keep it light.
I'm not accusing him. I'm just saying, can we?
Dan Mora, if you listen to this, that is Connor that is slandering your name, not Pete nor Matt.
Yes, thank you.
I did not say he did. I'm saying, can we rule it out?
I'm saying allegedly.
Would you want a search warrant to go check his house?
I think this is probably enough grounds for one.
Look, I'm saying he has the multiplicity machine, and there's a clone or 2, maybe 3.
All right.
And that's how he's doing it all.
Clones works too, yeah.
Okay, actually, quick question here, because we got that Lex Luthor special already. Is Lex already remember who he is here, or is this before Lex remembers who he is?
I think he's remember who he is, and that's why he can activate the Brainiac technology.
That makes sense. Right? But it's not like
that. It's not addressed at all.
No,
it's not addressed, and it also like that special did not feel like it took place between these 2 issues, given where the cliffhanger was and how this picked up right after.
Right.
So that's a bit weird, but
yeah.
I
just for him not remembering who he was in the last issue, right, and whatnot, for all that stuff to happen. For him to access the Brainiac technology well enough to get the aliens and Doomsday and everything, he has to remember.
He's wearing the purple and green. He's there using the tech. Like, he's able to explain all of it really easily. I don't know. It feels like Lex.
Yeah, although Mercy's still got the hots for him because she's like, yes, honey, I'll turn on this big machine for you.
She's, you know, see what happens when you're a ginger that's also bald. You get Mercy.
Well, it's a mercy that their hair went away.
But he still has the beard.
Yeah.
Aye, but he can shave that. He usually does. It's just this arc or run.
I love that people forget that Lex is a ginger and he's the ultimate evil in the DCU, right? Like, you know. But they also have Wally West, who's one of the ultimate goods. So, you know, and Babs.
Balance it out.
Well, there's more good gingers than bad gingers in DC, so that's how it goes. Are we counting Starfire? She's an alien.
No,
because
because that's like a that's not like human ginger. That's like special alien orange.
Yeah. Tamaranian.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a different tier. All right, Matt, what are you rating Superman?
I'm giving this a 7.5.
Connor?
I was fine with that annoying bit at the end, so like 5.5.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a 6.5, something in there. Yeah, I'll say 6.5. I think it's a pleasant enough read, just with a couple of things sticking out or underwhelming elements, but yeah, I'll go with that.